one of my main issues was always nuclear disarmament. And it started in 1995 when the NPT was prolonged unconditionally and unlimited. So we parliamentarians were part of the delegation, and we very much supported the standpoint of our government then. And we went to New York and we had a resolution and a big discussion in the parliament. And it went on for all the times when there were events like review conference of NPT or PrepComs. So we always contributed some proposals for our governments. And of course we also had discussions on conventional armed conferences and issues, and contributed there with resolutions and proposals. But my main issue always was nuclear disarmament. And in the last phase, for instance, I was very much focused on NATO strategy, because I tried to make suggestions how could the nuclear question be handled within NATO strategy to really bring into effect that the nuclear weapons get less relevance in the strategy. And we had round tables, conferences, for instance, in Berlin, together with the NATO parliamentarians. We invited them and they were in Berlin with their assembly. And so we tried to take up a lot of issues, conventional and nuclear, by discussing with NGOs, with journalists, and with parliamentarians at the same time. So I think we tried to make a little more public policy than only in the committees. Well, this was a very lucky thing, because if you pass a resolution, you have to have the majority of the parliament. And by that time, my counterpart from the Conservatives, he's a PNND member too, and he was very much on our side. And so we we ended up with a very good resolution in 2010. But afterwards, the next resolutions we couldn't really get a majority for. This will be a very, very complicated thing, because you have all the members of parliament from all the member states. And there's Russia, and there are other countries that might take the standpoint of Russia. So the resolution could be passed by the majority, but with no effect. And I have a lot of experience with resolutions on Belarus. We passed very good resolutions and nothing really happened. So it was not helpful within the Parliamentary Assembly, besides discussing issues and taking them to the parliaments at home. But I don't think that we can really be helpful in the solution with the Ukrainian crisis as OSCE Parliament. Well, same problem there, because they always have to agree, all participants have to agree, and Russia will be against it. But the impact could be that you have some helpful support for crisis resolution in the form of missions, in the form of monitoring, and so on. But I'm not too optimistic, because you had the monitor mission in Georgia, which was not very lucky there. And we had other missions that were not very successful. So we have to wait and see. It depends a little on how big the pressure will be on Russia to admit monitors and support from OSCE in the Ukrainian crisis. There's a very big challenge, because if you look at the reactions of NATO, for instance, they really are willing for the protection of the Eastern European countries to strengthen their nuclear deterrence, at least if they speak about it. And I don't think right now we had an opportunity to diminish the role of nuclear weapons in NATO strategy. And the same is true with Russia, who is strengthening their own nuclear components in the strategy. So I think that's a very crucial point where we have to work with our parliaments not to agree with this escalation of nuclear deterrence thinking. I remember that it was, I think, in 1998, that our then fresh elected Foreign Minister Joschka Fischer from the Greens, he was very tough on these things. Green policy was no first use and all the good anti-nuclear things. And he went to Brussels and he said, oh, we have to formulate a non-first use policy. And he was very big when he went there, and he was very tiny when he came back. So in the following years, no one really dared to do any initiative from the government. Repeatedly, our parliament had resolutions with one point in it, no first use policy. And I think it's easy to pass a resolution in the parliament, but it's not very easy to take it to NATO and achieve something. And at the same time, you can see that countries that until now had a no first use policy, they are rolling back, like France. Not sure, but they had a no first use policy, and now then they diminished this a little. China kept it, but Russia abolished it. And then I see the reactions that might occur in NATO. Russia, they don't do it. If they follow, okay, then we do it too. But I don't see much prospects right now. I think a good idea would be to have kind of conferences in your constituencies. If you take all your majors for peace, and in most constituencies you might have one or two at least, and take all the NGOs that support it, and there are always NGOs also working in your constituency or in the broader near your constituency. You can invite them and make press releases and conferences and maybe demonstrations to get this idea a little more known by the public. And I think this would be the best thing, not in the parliament, but at home.